sure is. We are live, by the way, just so you know, and the
Let's-
people are beginning to pour in.
I like it. I like it. Well, yeah, Michael, good to see you as always. It's
Always.
Monday. I like to call it Michael Monday. We're going to try to do this as often as we can. And it's kind of a manic Monday in the nation's capital. Mounting concerns about what's happening back in DC, fears rising, not just among federal workers who have been on the receiving end of threatening emails from Elon Musk and his Doge team. There was a bomb threat that forced the evacuation of attendees at the principal's first summit in Washington over the weekend. Former DC police officer Michael Fanone, who was on the receiving end of that threat, mentioned in the emailed bomb threat. He joins me a little longer in the program to discuss that. And I got that email. We'll read it to everybody in a minute. Michael Cohen is here on the Jim Acosta show. We're going to be talking about.
How scary is that?
Yeah,
The guy is doing his job.
I know.
He's a DC police officer protecting
Yep.
the Capitol. Whether you agree with what's going on or not, whether you're a pro-Trumper or you're an anti-Trumper, all he was doing was his job.
That's right.
And to be assaulted, and now, with bomb threats and swatting and doxing and the whole 9 yards, it's so wrong.
I'm going to ask him about it. I'm going to ask him about it because Enrique Tarrio from the Proud Boys, he showed up at this conference and there was a bunch of shouting going on. He obviously was trying to start a disruption there, an incident there. And so Fanone's going to fill us in on that. But Michael, I'm glad we have you with
Jim,
us.
He did. Yeah. My understanding is he was rearrested. I heard
that
Enrique Tarrio actually assaulted a woman protester. And they took him into custody.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you that there's kind of this menacing climate in DC right now. And you can't even go to a political summit without some of these January 6 types trying to roll in there and intimidate everybody. I mean, they had CPAC over the weekend, and you would think, okay, that's enough. If they have CPAC, they can go to CPAC and they can go do their thing there. Do they really need to go to some of these other political conferences and try to disrupt things?
And the answer is yes, they do.
The answer is yes.
You know why? Because there's no accountability. The fact that President Trump pardoned 1,500 plus of these January 6th defendants, as he likes to call them, there is now no longer accountability. They are now empowered to literally go out and do whatever they want. You want to come after me, right? This is now I'm going to end up doing. Basically, it's to stifle First Amendment.
And that's the climate in DC right now. That's the atmosphere in DC right now. I mean, these January 6 types, they've been let loose. They've been sprung by Donald Trump, and now they can go and try to intimidate people. And to me, that is kind of the theme of this show today is intimidation, because there's intimidation going on at political conferences like that. There's intimidation going on inside the federal government, where Elon Musk and his Doge team, they're sending out these emails to federal workers, very threatening, saying you have to respond and list all of the things that you've done in the last week. And if you don't do this, you're going to lose their job. And now some of the federal agencies are saying you don't have to do that. And so there's a lot of confusion about that. I do want to talk about it. But Michael, the thing I wanted to talk about you first and foremost, there are already more worries now about the independence of the FBI. We already have Kash Patel going in there as the FBI director. And now Dan Bongino has been named the deputy director of the FBI. He's a former New York City police sergeant, Secret Service agent. But more specifically, he is a right-wing talk show host, podcaster, election denier, you name it. And he's going to have a very important position as the deputy director of the FBI. I mean, Michael, your thoughts on that? I mean, it's just so out of the norm.
I'm going to give you a contrarian thought for a quick moment.
Please.
So Elon Musk goes and sends out this letter, as you just stated, demanding that each person who receives the letter is to respond immediately by Monday as to what they've accomplished over the course of the past week. Well, it was actually Kash Patel who turned around and told all of the recipients, do not do it. All right. He is the one who said it. And we all understand that Kash Patel, of course, is a loyalist. So the hope is that while Dan Bongino is a podcaster, and yes, he has law enforcement in the late 90s. He was, I believe, a New York City police officer. And then for like 12 or 13 years, Secret Service agent. Does that make
Yeah.
him qualified to be the deputy director of the FBI? I don't know, right? What makes that qualification? But I will say that Cash Patel held the line. Just because Elon Musk wants to do something doesn't mean Cash Patel, who is a true Trump loyalist,
Yeah.
did not go along with the bullshit. Not for a
Yeah, what's your
second.
read on that? Is that I mean, sometimes we see this happening in Trump world where, you think everybody's singing from the same song sheet, but they're not. There are rivalries, there are elbows being thrown, and maybe there's some of that going on here. I don't know. But I mean, to me, it's disturbing to have Kash Patel and Dan Bongino in charge over the FBI. Put aside the Elon Musk thing.
Me
I mean,
personally, I'm not
yeah,
concerned about it because
interesting.
ultimately, and what I think Kesh Patel fully understood is that the law was not going to inure to their benefit. And so he actually did the right thing, not just for all of those recipients of that email, but he did the right thing for Trump. You see, when you have people whispering into Trump's ear, do X, Y, and Z. And it may not be for Trump's own benefit. It may seem like it's a punch to the gut that we're going to stir things up, we're going to shake shit up here in DC. But then you
Yeah,
have loyalists who turn around and say, no, 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 no. What we're going to do is we're actually going to protect Trump from himself. Gary Cohen used to talk about all the time.
yeah,
Scaramucci used to talk about it. Steve Mnuchin used to talk about it. Sometimes you have to protect the boss from himself, and I think that's
yeah.
exactly what Kash Patel did. And
Hmm.
he did it probably because he's not thrilled with Elon Musk and Elon Musk's ongoing, continuous assumption of power.
Yeah, I mean, I obtained a couple of these emails. I can read it to folks. I mean, this went out to
Do it.
HHS employees on Saturday. It says OPM sent an email to all federal employees titled, "What did you do last week?" And it says, "This is a legitimate email. Please read and respond per the instructions by Monday, February 24th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time." And that was sent out to HHS employees. And then I obtained this email that went out to employees at the NIH, the National Institutes of Health. And it says, "Dear colleagues, you've received the below email from HHS earlier today. We ask that you please hold on responding to OPM until we receive further guidance." And this is from the acting director at NIH. So, I mean, Michael, can you I mean, fathom what some of these federal workers are going through in that, they're told one thing by Doge and Elon Musk, and then their own agency heads are saying, no, no, don't do this yet. And as you were saying, over at the FBI, they're disregarding this. There are some agencies that are saying, we're just not going to do this. I mean, this just seems like utter chaos.
You see, what I would have done if I received that email, I would have reached out and I would have hired a comedian to actually respond. Yeah, I woke up Monday, so and so date.
Yeah,
Wasn't feeling great, so I took like a massive shit, right? And then, after that, I went ahead and I took a shower. I washed my hair. I
yeah,
used shampoo today. Normally, I try. I mean, I would just go on and on. Then I say I
yeah,
had a great, oatmeal with some blueberries, along with a nice green tea. After that, I went outside. I had myself,
yeah.
a cigarette. Then forgot that I didn't put on my shoes. Put on my shoes, and then,
It's
I
not,
mean, I would make a
I like
complete
this.
and total joke out of it because it
Right.
is a stupid thing to write. It is a stupid thing to send out, and it was absolutely ill thought out by Elon Musk. He has to
Yeah,
understand this is not a group of techies. When you're talking about coding and before AI, you could work on one string of coding for a month, and
yeah,
because you're on $1, right? You're on
yeah,
the payroll. You can turn around and say, "Hey, we really need to get this out now." And
yeah,
so tell me, where are you at this week versus the week before? That's
yeah,
Elon Musk's mentality. And that shit works
yeah,
for if a bunch of young kids coding, keep me honest and make sure that you're working as diligently as you can
yeah.
because
I mean,
every day you need that code finished for the program. This is not
yeah,
coding. And Elon has to understand that things like this are not just disruptive to government, they are illegal. They are
Yeah.
illegal. You'll end up with a massive lawsuit and a class action lawsuit against the US government because it is violative of your rights. It goes against
Yeah.
union rules, it goes against everything. So Elon Musk made yet another mistake. Now, to be fair to Elon Musk, while giving his press conference in the Oval Office as Trump sat there looking
Yeah.
on and staring at the camera, he did acknowledge that there was going to be mistakes. Well, Elon, congratulations, you made another one.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's true what you're saying. I mean, if you send back an email that says, "Well, I watched, a little TV. I took my dog out for a walk," that kind of stuff. I suppose that might work. But it sounds as though you have agencies. I mean, like the NIH, for example, you have people there. I'm working on. What did I do this week? I worked on a cure for cancer. Is that not enough for you people? Why do I have to list 5 things? Why can't it just be one thing? I mean, I just to me, it just seems like amateur hour. And you bring in Elon Musk, and it sounds good. And ooh, out on the campaign trail, we're going to have this Doge thing or something. But a lot of this in practice, and what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, it just sounds idiotic. It just
It is
sounds
idiotic.
it just sounds stupid. And so, like, what the hell is going on? Is
Jim,
this
it's
any
as
way to run a
stupid
railroad?
as CNN letting you leave. It's that
Well, let's not get into
stupid,
that.
you know?
Let's there's a lot of stupid things we can compare it to, and to me, it's just it makes you wonder what if there's something very wrong with Elon Musk
It
because I
is.
mean,
Jim,
yeah,
Jim, let me say
it's
this.
yeah,
If you had total control and you could do whatever you want, you know,
yeah,
um, what was the name of the show? Like The Crown or something like that, where
yeah, yeah,
you feel like walking around the palace nude, no problem. You tell everybody to
yeah,
walk around nude too because you're the king. You can do
right,
whatever you want. That's how Elon Musk is acting, and it's why I
yeah,
said on our last Monday Michael show together, I turned around and I said this relationship is going to be short lived because
yeah,
ultimately, when Donald starts to feel the pressure of the foolishness, and
yeah,
he's the one where everybody says, let me be very clear. You know the
yeah.
old expression, shit flows downhill? You, sir, are the president of the United States. You
Well,
haven't abdicated the throne. You haven't abdicated the Lincoln desk, all right, to Elon Musk. He is making decisions that make you look not just weak, make you look stupid. And that's not
yeah.
something that Trump will ever allow.
And I kind of wonder, Michael, because you and I haven't talked in a week here. We were talking earlier about this principles first summit and the bomb threat that went in there. I'm going to talk to Fanone about this in just a little bit. But CPAC was going on this past weekend too. We need to talk about CPAC
I've been there.
because yeah, I know you've been there. I've been there lots of times. I mean, you've been there going back years.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing that is highly disturbing, and we've seen a lot of conversation about this over the weekend is what is Steve Bannon doing? Getting up there in front of everybody, doing this salute. He claims this was not a Nazi salute, but you have Elon Musk on inauguration day doing this salute, and he says, "Oh no, it's not a Nazi salute." And then Steve Bannon gets up there, and it looks like he does a Nazi salute. He says, "No, I didn't do a Nazi salute." What is going on there, Michael?
So
I mean,
it's amazing that you asked me that question
yeah,
because going back into 2016, I'll tell you a story. I've never told this
yeah,
story before. So
yeah,
you're in my
great,
followers. We're going to hear some stuff during our programs that nobody's ever heard before. During the
yeah,
campaign, there were allegations of Steve Bannon being an anti-Semite. And, you know, I'll never forget, he went into Trump because it absolutely upset him. It really did. Now, if you're an
yeah,
anti Semite, being called an anti Semite shouldn't really upset you at all, right? I mean, you
yeah,
are what you are. Jim, you're a guy with glasses, right? That doesn't make you upset. I'm wearing readers too.
yeah,
He came into my office, he sat down, and he said to me, can we talk? I said, sure. What's up? So, and Steve and I, we're always at butting heads. Never fought, but we always butted heads. He said to
yeah,
me, "They're writing stories that I'm an anti-Semite." So I
yeah,
said to him, "Well, are you?" So he goes, no. So I said, well, then why are they saying it? And he told me the story that he had made a comment and it could be taken as anti Semitic. So I said, well, why don't you just apologize and say I spoke improperly. I did not
Yeah.
use the best choice of words and go on and apologize and so on. He said, would you write a letter on my behalf? So I
Hmm.
said, I can't do that. So he
Yeah.
says, why not? We're supposed to protect each other. So I
Yeah.
said, well, better it should come from you than from me. And he actually did it, which is why I don't believe it's the same as Elon Musk is out of his mind. He's running around right now. Steve
Yeah.
Bannon is not. Steve Bannon is calculated. He is an
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
incredibly bright guy, as Elon Musk is, in a
Yeah.
different way. Elon
Yeah.
is not politically astute. He's just fucking rich. Steve Bannon
Yeah.
is wealthy, but Steve Bannon is politically astute. He
Yeah.
didn't do a Nazi salute knowing that that was going to become the talk of everything. Why they
Yeah.
have to do this, why they have to make the salute, or why they even do anything that even remotely resembles the salute to me
Right.
is idiotic.
And I'm sorry, but you're associating with people like the Proud Boys. You're associating with people like uh, the Oath Keepers. You know, I, to me, it's just very disturbing. And the thing that I wanted to talk about is,
Can I
uh,
just jump in for one second?
yeah, go ahead,
The
go ahead.
Proud
Yeah,
Boys, the Oath Keepers, while they may be anti Semitic, they're also anti black, they're anti
yeah,
brown, they're anti
yeah,
LGBTQ, they're anti everything. And the
yeah,
reason Steve Bannon cajoles them is because
yeah,
they are a massive part of the MAGA base. And
yeah,
that's who Steve Bannon is trying to appeal to because they believe that it makes sense for him, for Trump, and for this
yeah.
administration.
Well,
This is not about anti Semitism.
well, the thing I want to say though is
Anti woman, yes.
all of those things. There's no question about it. All of it's unacceptable. But this comes down to the president of the United States needs to make it extremely clear. I don't want to see a salute like that. I don't
Right.
even want to see somebody coming close to a salute like that. You do anything close to a salute like that, you're never coming in the White House again. You're never going to be at a conference that I'll be associated with ever again. And I just think it's completely unacceptable that something like this would go on. And I just have to say, the thing that I get worried about, and Michael, you and I have talked about this before, is the effect on young people in this country. When you go to CPAC conferences, you see a lot of young conservatives there. And I don't want to ever come close in this country to a day where we normalize this kind of far right nationalist, white nationalist, neo Nazi shit at all. I mean, to me, it is completely unacceptable. It is completely beyond the pale, and it has no place in American society.
If
And I
I
just,
was still
yeah,
there in
yeah,
Trump's camp,
yeah,
if he called me and said to me, come here and fix this, I would literally have every single person. I don't care if they're Jewish, I don't care if they're Gentile. I would bring
yeah,
them all into chamber, right? We would ask to use chamber, and I would
right,
turn the next one of you, not just are you out of here. On the way out, every single person here is going to swing a baseball bat at your kneecap. All right.
yeah,
Don't do another salute. All right. Don't sit there and make statements that are going to come back down onto the president's head.
yeah,
He's having a tough enough time without your stupidity becoming his stupidity. He does that
yeah.
well enough on his own. But
And
not the next person that does it, you can't just say you're out of here, you're fired, and so on. You got to really make them suffer for it
yeah,
because again, shit rolls downhill. And the guy
it
who's
does.
now becoming held accountable, let me be clear, Trump is many, many things. Is he anti Semitic? No. He's not. Does he say
Yeah.
anti Semitic things? Yes. Right? Does that all in all make
But
him?
he plays footsie with all of
He
these kinds of
does.
groups,
He
and
does.
he likes that there are Proud Boys. He likes that there are Oath Keepers. He likes the people on the far right. Remember when he said very fine people on both sides after Charlottesville, and everybody went bananas and tried to say that he didn't say this. He wasn't trying to call the neo Nazis fine people and all that stuff, which is horse shit. It's horse
Bullshit
crap.
is right.
Bullshit is right. And it's a Monday. We're just going to throw these words out there. I'm sorry. We're just going to call it like it is. But I mean, to me, they have been playing this game for far too long. And, they need to either shit or get off the pot when it comes to
Yes.
these groups. You need to
Yes.
disassociate yourself from these groups. You need to make sure that the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and neo-Nazi and right-wing people and Nick Fuentes and all these people should not be in polite society. They should not be coming to have lunch at Mar-a-Lago like Nick Fuentes did. But Trump plays footsie with these people. And I think when Bannon goes up there, especially with his kind of track record going around the world, trying to start far right movements in all these different countries, I think he knows what he's doing. Now, he may say this was not a Nazi salute and so on, and he can say that. But something has to be done from the level of the president of the
Jim,
United
you answered.
States,
You
or
answered the
he's
right.
just letting it happen. Yeah,
You gave the right and the clearest response to this. He needs
yeah,
to turn around and say, "You lift your hand in any other way other than to applaud like that,
yeah,
you're fucking out of here. Plain and simple. All right.
yeah,
And you're never coming back. All right.
yeah,
But you're right. He plays footsies. But when I said, and I'm the son of a Holocaust survivor. So when I'm
yeah,
telling you that he's not an anti Semite, but he does say anti Semitic things. Donald Trump, as we all know, is anti LGBTQ plus community.
yeah,
Yet who was around him during the campaign and so on, advocating for him. Caitlyn
yeah.
Jenner, right? So, in other words, it's transactional.
But Michael,
Every
didn't you go to a CPAC? What was it, in 2011 or something like that? Because I covered it, and Trump was there. This was way back in the day, and he
2011 and
was
also again in 2015,
and he was
2016.
he met with the log cabin Republicans. He met
Yes,
with the LGBTQ community of the Republican Party. He used to be much tighter with those folks, with that community, than he is now. Now he wants to, peddle the anti-trans stuff in order to score points with his base,
it's
but he hasn't always been that way.
transactional. It's
Yeah,
transactional, Jim. For
yeah,
God's sakes, everybody has to understand when
you're
you
right.
really want to understand Trump, think of it as a business transaction. You
Yeah,
want so and so. You're not going to get the far left. You're not going to get a certain group of people. Okay, scratch them off the list as they have a big list in front of them. How many people do we need to vote for me to win the election? And then he
yeah,
will go, neo Nazis? Absolutely. They're not voting for Kamala Harris. They're not voting for
yeah,
Joe Biden. So I need to keep them in, which is going back to 2015 why he turned around and said, "Oh yeah, what's his name? I don't know who he is, sir. He's the head of the Klan, right? And
yeah,
so on, David Duke." And then he turned around and
yeah,
goes, "Well, I don't even know who he is. I mean,
yeah.
the name sounds
But
vaguely
it's
familiar, but I don't know anything about him." And
yeah,
there's fine people on both sides. No, there's
yeah.
not.
No, there's not. No, there's not. And one of the things that I want to talk to you about this for just a second. What was your take on Charlottesville at that time, Michael? Because it's been a while since this happened. But one of the things that you hear, the apologists for Trump and the stuff that you hear on the far right and the MAGA base, is that, oh, Donald Trump wasn't saying very fine people on both sides. He wasn't saying that the white supremacists and the neo Nazis in Charlottesville were very fine people. I was there in the room with him. He was responding to a question from me when he said that. I thought that he was absolutely saying that. He
He
tried to
did say it.
he tried to clean it up a few seconds later, but he was absolutely saying that some of the people who showed up in Charlottesville were fine people. And it
Yep.
makes you wonder, he's obviously not talking about the counter protesters, and it's just this it just keeps happening over and over and over again. And I just, people get pissed off and they don't want you to say, "Oh, it was a Nazi salute when Steve Bannon did that. Oh, it wasn't a Nazi salute when
Jim,
Elon Musk did it." But damn it, that's exactly what it looks like.
it's
And
what
so are
he
we not supposed.
said.
Yeah,
It's
go ahead.
exactly what he said. Let me be clear about something here, right?
Yeah,
Again, it's all transactional. People have
yeah,
to stop trying to figure it's like going into somebody's restaurant and then the owner comes out who happens to be the chef and he asks you, "Hey, how was the food tonight?" What are you going to tell
yeah,
him? It's shit. It's no good. It's terrible,
yeah,
right? And what if you actually even know the guy, right? It's even
yeah,
worse. Maybe you're not going to come back because it wasn't good, but you're not going to say it to his face. This is
Yeah.
the issue with Trump. It is a transaction. Um, he was not going to isolate that MAGA
Yeah.
base, which there was an expression that I heard. Not all of MAGA are anti-Semites, but all anti-Semites are MAGA.
Yeah.
You follow
Yeah.
the distinction, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And
And that's what we got.
and the thing that I think the dead giveaway here, when they say, and Elon Musk has said it wasn't a Nazi salute, and Steve Bannon says it's a Nazi salute, and they, so on and so on, is because they know, and so many of us know, this is not welcome in American society. Yes, you won an election, 2024. Yes, you got the popular vote. Yes, you won the electoral college, and so on. But the United States of America is never going to go along with being a fascist country. There's just too many of us here. We're just not going to do that. And we're just not going to go along with neo Nazis taking over this country. And so there's a part of me that just says, you know what? If you guys are so tough, and Steve Bannon likes to walk around with his 3 shirts and his pocket protectors and everything, and he acts like he's this big tough guy. Elon Musk likes to go around and threaten everybody and hold up a chainsaw and CPAC and so on. Okay, well, have the courage of your convictions and tell us who you really are. I think they need to tell us who they really are. And
I
if you
think you
have
ask
the
too much. I
and
think you ask too
if you
much.
have the guts, to say who you really are, then say it. But if they're chicken shit about it and they want to send a signal to the far right, but not admit what's really going on, there's something I think that's just appalling and completely un-American going on
In
here.
fact, on my Substack today, I actually wrote something
Yeah,
in the past when I was doing it with Dave Aronberg. And I
yeah,
posted what I had written in for my podcast, Mea Culpa. It's exactly this. The mega billionaires, the billionaires, are playing fucking whack a mole with our government and with our
yeah,
values.
yeah,
Elon Musk, he knows that his big tough act is
yeah,
only his money, right?
yeah,
It's like the old thing. Oh yeah, you think you're tough? Wait till my father's lawyer gets his hands on you. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? You end up
Sure,
getting
of
cornered into
course.
a wall. Yeah, you want to
Yeah,
throw down? Wait till
yeah.
my dad's lawyer gets his hands on you. That's Elon Musk. He's taking his money and he's basically Jim Acosta. You say something, next thing you know, there's a lawsuit pending against you. Right now, you
Yeah,
got to deal with that shit. Well,
yeah. That's
he's
right.
not going to turn
Well,
around and tell you who he is. He's not going to tell you what they're about.
100%. But you have to look at what the end goals are of their policy positions and the way they go about in this world. Steve Bannon has gone from country to country to country trying to start these far right movements. Elon Musk, largest political uh, donor in this last election,
In
obviously pursuing
history,
in
in
history
history,
and obviously pursuing far right goals. He went and he endorsed the AfD political movement in Germany in the recent German elections, and so it just seems to me, okay, they don't want to admit what they were doing with their hands at a conference or wherever, but you have to look at what the end result is of their goals and their objectives, and it seems to be to ignite a far right revolution in much of the civilized Western world. And I think that is a cause that Americans and democracy loving people in the Western Hemisphere they need to wake up to
yeah.
and understand that
And
this might be a very this is a critical moment in our history.
the problem with
This
that
is a
line,
critical
Tim,
moment.
but the problem with that line gets thrown out so often, right? So
I
often.
know,
We are on the
I get it.
precipice of the loss of
Yep,
democracy and so on.
I know. Right?
And the saddest part is saying it today. It's actually true, but it's so watered down because it's been used over and
Yeah,
over and over and over
yeah.
again. And people are sick of hearing it, really.
Well,
Well, don't
and
you think
forgive me,
that
and
the Constitution is going to hold up? And then you turn
yeah,
around and you say, I don't know. I
yeah,
don't know. We are now not just battling an individual, President of the United States, controls the Senate,
yeah,
controls the House, and controls the Supreme Court. When he said early on, and you and I spoke about this when we
yeah,
were at the the DNC convention. I turned around and I
Yeah.
said, he has made it crystal clear he has every intention. I'm talking about President Trump. He has every
You're
intention
right.
of rewriting the Constitution. He has every intention of stripping the legislative and the judiciary of their co-equal powers granted
Yeah.
under the Constitution. He has every desire to confer all power to the executive branch, naming
Yeah.
himself. And so far, that's exactly what he's doing. That's what Project 2025 is, that
Yeah.
922-page manifesto on how to
Yeah.
dismantle government. So when you
Yeah.
start hearing about this pundit or that pundit saying, well, we were successful in this case in stopping it, we were successful in whacking this thing right out, and so on. It's
Yeah.
only 10 or 20 out of 200. And so
Yeah.
everything that he's doing, which is violative of First Amendment, which is one way
Yeah.
that you change a democracy into an autocracy. The second way is you have to take control over the military. He is creating, with the Oath Keepers, with the Proud Boys,
Yeah.
and other groups, a paramilitary group. When you
Yeah.
start putting in all of the folks, the loyalists, this
Right.
country is going to see a problem that is so huge. The only way we will ultimately keep a democracy is there's
Yeah.
going to be a civil war. That's my
Well,
prediction. There will be a civil
that's what
war
scares
between
me. That
Republicans and Democrats,
I hope that's
or
not true.
Americans who believe in the Constitution and
Mm.
Americans that are looking for an autocracy. I do
Yeah.
truly believe it. I
Yeah.
am scared shitless of that.
Yeah.
I do not
Well,
want to see.
and Michael, I'm so glad that you came on this morning because and I just to bring everybody into the maybe the personal struggle on my end. I've always considered myself sort of a mild mannered news guy. Yeah, I have my passion and I get passionate about things at times. And the Substack thing has kind of unlocked something that I just want to just call it out a little bit more than perhaps I used to from time to time. But this thing where people think they can go and act like Nazis in public. Maybe they'll say that they're not doing it. That's not what they're doing, and so on and so forth. And fine, they can say that, and we'll report that, and we'll put that out there. But the America that I grew up in, this country that I grew up in, we hate the effing Nazis. That's always been the American way, and it just upsets me that it's being. It just seems like this far right bananas bullshit is being mainstreamed in a way that is deeply disturbing, and I worry about it affecting the young people in this country and sort of getting into their
And
bloodstream.
it
That's
has.
what concerns me.
And it
And
has.
it,
And proof
yeah,
proof be look at the case of Rittenhouse. This
yeah,
kid he decides he's going to take his AR-15 and he's going to go
yeah,
to a town that's not even where he lives to protect
yeah,
property and so on, takes the life of somebody, and he gets hailed as a hero. He gets
yeah,
invited to Mar-a-Lago
yeah,
to sit and break bread with
yeah,
Donald J. Trump. I mean, I'm saying to myself, what? And if
yeah,
you think that there aren't copycats that think
yeah,
that that was cool shit, he knew what he was doing,
yeah,
and they could say whatever they want. All of a sudden, he's not law enforcement. He's just another guy with a firearm, and we have
yeah.
so many firearms. All of
Well,
a sudden, everybody's
I agree with
become
you. But the thing that and Michael, I got to bring in Michael Fanone here, but Michael Cohen, always great to talk to you. But the thing that I want to be asked by the press up on Capitol Hill or at congressional town halls or wherever these lawmakers are this week, the President of the United States, Caroline Levitt, uh, everybody needs to ask these lawmakers, these political leaders, and so on for their reaction to what we saw from Steve Bannon and others at CPAC over the weekend. It's this kind of behavior in our political discourse is just totally unacceptable.
This
And
is
and I
how
think
it starts with a
yeah,
salute, and then you can
yeah,
only imagine. Think about Nazi
yeah,
Germany. It started with a
yeah,
salute, and look at where it ended up. And
yeah,
I'm saddened to even think that we're on that
yeah.
trajectory.
Well, Michael Cohen, great to talk to you. I
Great to talk to
appreciate
you.
it. I gave you a little. I took you a little longer than I thought we were going to do that today, but really appreciate the time, Michael. Good to talk to
Always.
you.
Thank
All
you,
right, good to
buddy.
see you,
I'll see
sir.
you
All
soon.
right.
Next
All right,
Monday.
see you soon. Sounds good. Michael Mondays, and we're gonna make it a thing.
There you go.
Um, all right, and um, so anyway, I know it's a Monday, and some of us are still rubbing our eyes and drinking our second cup of coffee, or maybe folks are heading off to the office and that sort of thing. Forgive me for getting so fired up this morning. I hope it's okay that I got a little fired up this morning. And Michael Cohen maybe has that effect on me a little bit. I have another Michael who's going to come in here in just a second and fire me up a little bit. But the, the, the CPAC conference, it really, and people might say, "Oh, Jim, you got triggered," and all this stuff. It was really disturbing to me, and it has to be called out. And if I can use this show to call out this kind of thing, I'm going to call it out. And let's try to bring in Michael Fanone here because Fanone is obviously one of the favorite people I like to have on this show. He's always straightforward with all of us. And the important thing about bringing in Michael Fanone today is because of what took place at this conference over the weekend. There's Michael Fanone right there. Hey, Michael, how you doing? Good to see you, Mike.
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Well, Michael Cohen and I were getting fired up about this CPAC conference that they had over the weekend. I want to talk to you about this Principles First conference that you
Yeah, hey,
were attending.
Jim.
Talk. Yeah,
Before you get into
do,
that, let me just
do
say
it.
one thing. You should be outraged.
Okay,
That's the appropriate response.
I
You know,
appreciate it.
it seems as though so many people in the media today and so many people in this country have skipped the anger and the outrage and gone
Yeah,
right to fear, and they're allowing that fear to
that's
paralyze.
right.
Yeah, I'll tell you,
Yeah,
I did an interview several weeks ago,
yeah,
and I won't say what network, but I was asked to comment on the fact that Stewart Rhodes was gallivanting throughout the Capitol building, and
yeah,
who had been hosted by several members of Congress. This is a
yeah,
person who was convicted of seditious conspiracy, but then pardoned by the president, Donald Trump.
yeah,
And my response to that was that Stewart Rhodes could go fuck himself.
yeah.
And I'll tell you that the
I'm
report
okay with that.
the journalist or the personality that was being interviewed by was more shocked at the fact that I said fuck on cable news than the fact
Yeah,
that Stewart Rhodes, a seditious conspirator, was being invited to the United States Capitol, having lunch in the Longworth House Office Building cafeteria, and
completely disgusting.
pressing the flesh with lawmakers. So
Yeah,
outrage is the appropriate response. Anger
yeah.
is the appropriate response. We just need to channel that into action. But go ahead. Let's talk
No, but
principles
what?
first.
Yeah. So what happened at Principles First? Because I was monitoring what was going on there. It looked like you had some good people there on hand, folks who were kind of Republicans who became never Trumpers, and they like to get together and talk about what's going on in this country from time to time, and a lot of great people there. But then Enrique Tarrio with the Proud Boys shows up. Then there's a bomb threat. Can you walk us through it? What can you tell us?
Yeah, so Principles First is it's a grassroots organization. It's made up of
Yeah,
a whole host of people in politics, outside of politics, with diverse backgrounds and diverse political ideology, who place democracy above party and fealty to an authoritarian dictator. That being said, we had quite a few guests, speakers. I spoke. I was on a panel with Harry Dunn, Aquilina Ganell, and Danny Hodges.
yep.
And
Love those guys.
so while we were in the lobby of the hotel where it was being hosted, Enrique Tarrio and Ivan Ranklin and a few other members of the Proud Boys showed up. And they were there to try to intimidate those of us who were in attendance at the event. I mean, this is their tactic. And let me just tell
Yeah,
you, they showed up wearing body worn cameras, flanked by numerous individuals who are holding up cell phones, videotaping the entire interaction. And
yeah,
I'll tell you why. It's because the Proud Boys, their tactic is to bait people into confrontations and seek some type of civil, lawsuit against them.
Yeah.
That's the tactic.
Yeah.
And I mean, I will say this, for an organization that places masculinity above all things,
Right.
where I'm from, the least masculine way to resolve a dispute is to sue somebody.
Yeah.
These guys are pussies. But again, these are the tactics that they want to utilize, and they also want to create these
With their
viral.
cell phones and everything,
Yeah, yeah. They
it's
want
like,
to create.
what a
They
bunch
want to
of
create. Yeah, they want to create viral
yeah.
moments so that people will
Yeah.
buy their merchandise.
Yeah.
Enrique Tarrio just wants you to buy Proud Boys crap. He just wants you to
Yeah.
buy
He's a
hats,
grifter.
shirts. Exactly. That's what it's all
Yeah.
about. He's created
Yeah.
this cartoonish character of himself.
Yeah.
Again, ascribing to the WWE type persona that he has, where he wears these sunglasses indoors and he walks around
Yeah.
wearing his little Fred Perry shirt and his stupid hat. But again, like
Yeah.
that's what they're all about. They're just trying to sell you crap,
Yeah.
and use these confrontations to build up their fan base and their network.
And so he's shouting at you at the conference or trying to create this incident or scene basically, and you weren't having it.
Yeah, I mean, he was screaming that we were traitors, that I was a traitor to the country. And I told him, listen, you're the fucking traitor of this country. This is someone who was found guilty by a jury of his peers in the United States of America for seditious conspiracy. He should be serving a 22-year sentence, but he was proud. He was pardoned by his ally in chief, Donald Trump. That should tell
Yeah.
you a lot about this administration. That Donald Trump would pardon someone who is convicted of seditious conspiracy and then tell the American people that the Proud Boys may have a place in politics.
Yeah. Well, screw that. I mean, the Proud Boys have no place in politics. They have no place in American society. I mean, first of all, it's just can we just talk about this for a second? It's a stupid name, the Proud Boys. I just think the whole thing is stupid. They seem like guys, and I'll just be real honest, if they had a better dating life or social life, maybe they just need somebody to give them a hug. I don't know what it is, but they just come across to me as pathetic.
Yeah,
And,
they're common criminals, most of them, and
yeah,
they're also that mommy didn't love them enough.
yeah,
So you know, I, moms, hug your kids because they might turn into Proud Boys.
yeah. Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be Proud Boys. We used to sing "Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys," but
Right.
that was what, as a Redskins fan, that's what you would say growing up. But um, and then so what the hell happened with this bomb threat? So you guys are at the conference on Sunday, and then somebody emails in a bomb threat or something.
Correct. So the principals first received an email, the organization. It was a very explicit email. I think you posted it
I
yesterday,
posted, yeah, yeah,
and it listed a number of the speakers who were in attendance of the event, myself included, and said that we deserve to die. In fact, I even got especially before my name, especially Michael Fanone. But also, what I found most disturbing was that my 76-year-old mother, who in the past has been targeted multiple times with swatting
yeah.
incidents, harassment, violence, uh, that her home address was also listed, and she was targeted with a bomb threat at her residence.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I can. It says here, and I'm looking at the email right now. It says to honor the J6 hostages recently released by Emperor Trump. I mean, again, I don't know who writes this stuff, but they just sound like they are in desperate need of some kind of treatment or help. It goes on to say, I've constructed 4 pipe bombs out of 1 x 8 inch, 1 by 8 inch threaded galvanized pipes, end caps, kitchen timers, some wires, metal clips, and homemade black powder. I mean, it sounds pretty serious. It's rigged to explode. One was placed inside the JW Marriott, and then goes to list some of the names at the conference. And then, yes, it goes on. It says, list some of these names, and it says, especially Michael Fanone, all deserve to die. In that spirit, the third device has been placed inside Michael Fanone's mother's mailbox. It also mentions John Bolton. I mean, this is sick stuff. And it just goes to show you, and this happened during the first Trump administration, he animates these lunatics. He animates these crazy people. You have Steve Bannon over at CPAC animating and exciting people who are not playing with a full deck. And it causes chaos, and it can cause real political violence in this country.
It has caused real political
It
violence in this,
has. It has. Yeah.
and it has continued ever since January 6th. Obviously not at that scale, but we have seen attacks on law enforcement. We have seen attacks on Americans, on their fellow Americans, all because they were inspired by this extremist MAGA ideology, which is nothing more than a reincarnation of fascism.
Yeah. And that's the thing we were talking about earlier. Cohen and I were talking about this. When you have Steve Bannon at CPAC and he says he wasn't doing a Nazi salute. He does this thing that Elon Musk had just done a few weeks before at the inauguration. Elon Musk says that wasn't a Nazi salute. And they have these Proud Boys and Jan 6 people running around CPAC. It is just un-American.
Yeah, and don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your lying
Yeah,
eyes. I mean, look at the
yeah,
video. I mean, come on. Steve Bannon does the salute, gives a little smirk right before he does it. He knew exactly what the fuck he was doing.
yeah,
Steve Bannon has fetishized fascism for all of his adult political life.
yeah,
I mean, he's a sick person. The people that espouse this ideology are sick individuals, and America has a choice to make. Recognizing now, I mean, I hope that this, extremism that we're experiencing in the first month, it's only been a month of the Trump
yeah,
administration, starts to wake people up as to what they did and gets
yeah,
them on the path. And we've started to see it in some of these town halls, gets them on the right path to, suppressing this fascist ideology that's infected our culture and our politics.
yeah. Well, and I mean, you're seeing some of these intimidation tactics going on inside the Doge efforts that they're, sending these emails out to federal employees saying you have 48 hours to send us a list of the 5 things that you did in the last week, or you're going to lose your job. And then you have people at some of these federal agencies saying, no, screw that, we're not doing that, and then emailing their employees and saying we're not going to do that. But Trump was saying over the weekend he wants Musk to be even more aggressive in this stuff. And so at every turn, Donald Trump, he wants to amp it up. He wants to light a fire under some of these far right efforts to change America as we know it. And he's not. And I was talking about this with Cohen earlier. He's not out there saying, "Listen, if I see one more of these damn salutes at one of these political events, you're never coming anywhere near the White House ever again." That's what a real president would do. A real president would go out there and say, "If you ever do one of these salutes again, you don't get anywhere near the White House grounds, anywhere that I'm in the room at Mar-a-Lago or whatever. You're not welcome." But he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. But the White House should be asked about it, and he should be asked about it, and
Oh,
these
I mean,
political leaders should be asked about it.
yes. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know if you can apply as a Substack TV host for your White House credential back, but some of these reporters or journalists that are sitting there in the press corps need to grow a pair of balls and start asking these tough questions and not accept these non-answers.
Yeah,
These are real Americans whose lives are being threatened, whose lives are being destroyed by by these extremist groups that Donald Trump himself pardoned and set free and set loose on the American people. And he knew
yeah,
exactly what he was doing. This was all intentional. He's
yeah,
galvanized these people, he's emboldened them. They now feel that they are immune from any type of criminal prosecution as long as they commit crimes on Donald Trump's
yeah.
behalf.
And he's putting people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino at the FBI. I mean, he's not trying to say, well, I went a little too far with this pick, so let me put somebody in there who's more of a pro at the FBI. But no, he puts Dan Bongino in there. He's doubling down and tripling down and whatever else down on this far right craziness. I mean, that's what he's doing. And he's letting Steve Bannon go out there at CPAC and these other people go out there at CPAC and just say crazy things. And so I agree with you. What you were saying earlier, what we're seeing at these town halls, where you're seeing from some Democrats. There was a New York Times article about Chris Murphy over the weekend about how Democrats are responding to what he's been saying because he's been calling this out. And there's been this sort of finger in the wind, weather vane approach to Trump that we've seen from some corners of the Democratic Party because they just don't know what to do, politically speaking, with what he's been able to accomplish. And yet it just seems like the solution is right in front of your nose. When you're seeing what's taking place with Doge, when you're seeing what's happening at CPAC, when you see what's happening at the Principles First Summit, death threats, bomb threats, having to clear out an entire political conference because people from a different point of view are speaking their mind.
Absolutely. And it's it's scary times that we're living in.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
other thing, you talk about Democrats, we this cannot be a political movement. We cannot rely on a political party to save us from MAGA and from Donald Trump. This has to be
Yeah.
an American movement. This has to be
Yeah.
a movement about decency. It has to be a movement about compassion. It has to be a
Yeah.
movement about respect for democracy and love of country.
Yeah.
Um, I
Nope, you're
mean,
right. Absolutely. There's no
all
question.
yes,
It
and
has to
it's
come from the people.
yes, absolutely. It's our
Yeah.
responsibility. It's each and every American's responsibility to right this wrong.
Yeah. And it's not enough to say, well, he did eke out this victory, and so we're just going to go lick our wounds for 6 months or 9 months or a year or whatever. I, and then maybe we'll come up with a response by then, and from the focus groups and the pollsters and everything. It's going to be too late at that point, folks.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can't find harsh enough words for people that say things like that. Oh, we need to wait 2 years for the midterm elections, and Trump is going to, he's going to seal his
yeah,
own fate with all this insanity. I don't want to wait 2 years. This needs to begin now.
yeah,
This needs to
yeah,
begin today. I don't want to
yeah,
wait 2 years to see what else Donald Trump could possibly have in store for people like me, my family, and people like you, Jim.
yeah. Well, we're going to keep calling it out. We came out we came in hot today on a Monday with the Michaels here, Michael Fanone and Michael Cohen. But Mike, always great to see you. Really appreciate it. I know you and I could talk all morning, but
Yep.
well, I'll let you go about your day. But thanks a lot. Good to see you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, take care. All
Take
right.
care.
Uh, and I think the reason why I liked having both of the Michaels on this morning is maybe my inclination on a Monday is, take it easy, Jim. Let's not come across too harsh on a Monday. Let's not come in too hot on a Monday. But I don't know. I mean, when you have the events that we had over the weekend take place, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do when you saw Steve Bannon and these knuckleheads at CPAC doing the things that they're doing? It's unnerving. It's unsettling. I mean, anybody with a phone who has somebody who cares about this country had that video sent to them over the weekend where they saw Steve Bannon acting that way. Shame on you, Steve Bannon. Shame on you. And you don't need to just go and talk to a couple of reporters afterwards and say, no, I didn't do. Yeah, Steve Bannon really should go out and have a press conference or give a speech or say something, put out a statement or something, and deny all of this emphatically. But to go out there and behave in that fashion, it's shameful. It is shameful. And so, forgive me for coming in hot on a Monday like this. But the other thing, when you have Doge sending out emails to people saying, "Well, if you can just come up with 5 things," it almost suggests that, oh, you can't come up with 5 things. I mean, that's what they're really saying with those. You can't come up with 5 things. You're telling me that people who work at the National Institutes of Health who are working on things like a cure for cancer, trying to fight infectious diseases like bird flu. I mean, people at the FAA, air traffic controllers got this, people who work at the FBI, people who work in the Secret Service protecting the president got these emails. You don't think they can come up with 5 things that they did? Of course they can come up with 5 things. Of course. It's insulting. These are intimidation tactics. The last thing I wanna mention is, Ukraine. Leaders from across, this is according to the Washington Post, leaders from across Europe and Canada assembled in Kyiv on Monday to mark the 3rd anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion amid growing uncertainty over the United States' continued support for Ukraine. It's important that we remember, um, that Ukraine did not invade Ukraine, that Russia invaded Ukraine, that Ukraine is not responsible for the war in Ukraine. Russia is responsible for the war in Ukraine, the thousands of people who have died in Ukraine, the children who have been slaughtered in Ukraine, some of them forcibly removed from their country. Have we forgotten about that shameful episode of this war in Ukraine? Um, Peter Baker of the New York Times had a great article over the weekend. I want to call your attention to it. He was going through all of the, not all of them because you can't do it, but some of the main lies that Trump has told since coming into office. And it's just lie after lie after lie. And one of them is about Ukraine. And I see somebody commenting right now, don't apologize for anything, Jim. It's just, m- my mom would get mad at me if I did not hold the door open for her growing up. I mean, that's how I was raised. And so there's a part of me that, I sometimes have a little too much of the Virginia gentleman in me. So excuse me, I do the best that I can. But Peter Baker's story in the New York Times over the weekend, I call your attention to it because it runs through some of these things. And for those of us who are having conversations with friends and relatives and neighbors, keep that article handy. And for the ones who are saying, oh, well, it's not so bad what's been happening so far in the last month and so on, just go down through that list and read these different lies that Trump has been telling since coming into office. I mean, and I think I could be wrong, and somebody can chime in on the chat if I'm wrong. I think the worst of the lies, all of the lies, was the one he told about Ukraine. And one of the things I thought was most hopeful, um, I guess the most cause for optimism is the way that lie was just soundly rejected by so many people across the political spectrum. Um, I thought that was an important moment. I thought that was an important moment. Um, I do think that, and I think Michael Fanone is right about this. You can't wait 6 months, 9 months, a year, whatever it is, till the next midterms. Um, I think what we're starting to see at some of these events that are cropping up across the country, where people are starting to show up and starting to care again. They were exhausted. They didn't want to be engaged after the election and so on. They're starting to care again. They're starting to get loud again. Um, one of those things that I think we have to care about is Ukraine. I have spoken with so many people since that war began who have been touched by it. And I always think about um, the 2 pilots that I interviewed um, with the Ukrainian Air Force. I did this interview a couple years ago. Both of them have since died in this war. Um, there's a woman with special forces in Ukraine who I interviewed. Um, Maybe I'll post some of these on Substack later. I interviewed her. She was nearly killed when an IED hit one of her vehicles. Um, the amount of sacrifice, the courage, the bravery that has been demonstrated in Ukraine. Please do not cheapen what those people have accomplished, the battles that they've fought, um, everything that they've done to defend their country. Please don't cheapen that by uttering some lie that they're somehow responsible for the war in Ukraine. And because of the way MAGA is now, you have respected people in the party, and maybe respected is too strong of a word, but people whose words used to matter, sort of adopting Trump's point of view and line of thought on all of that. It's just it's depressing. Again, I keep going back to the word shameful. It's shameful to see that going on. But I think it's important on this anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine that we not only hold on to truth, as I've said in the past, but hold on to hope that maybe even without the full support of the United States, that the Ukrainians can hold on. I'll leave you with that thought. Thanks everybody for joining the Jim Acosta Show on this Monday. I might not be here every day this week, so hopefully this will be enough for you. But my thanks to Michael Cohen, my thanks to Michael Fanone. They both came in hot today. Maybe we just won't worry. I won't apologize anymore for that. We'll just come in hot. We need to do that. We need a little bit more folks coming in hot these days. Somebody just asked, no afternoon? No afternoon. This was a morning bonus edition of it. And I see maybe I'm breaking up a little bit as I'm trying to say goodbye to you here. So hopefully that it's okay. You're hearing it okay and seeing it okay on your end. But thanks a lot, everybody, for watching on this Monday. Really appreciate it. A coming in hot kind of Monday. Good to see you. Until next time, still reporting. I'm Jim Acosta. Take care.